The Northwest Passage has always attracted adventurous spirits, and it's, in many ways the ultimate place to pitch yourself, just because the conditions are hard there and the terrain and the seas are unforgiving. Sometimes you'll just see ice as far as you can see, and the wind that obviously blows off the ice is very, very cold. And we saw some really big seas up there, and it's a very intimidating place to be, so you feel quite isolated. But there's a magic to that as well, and I always kind of thrive off that kind of feeling and that edge a little bit. But on the other hand, there are other days where you think this really is the most spectacular place on earth. It's that kind of contrast that always makes these expeditions for me, so exciting.
13 days, 3,000 kilometers, sub-zero temperatures. Adventurer Bear Grylls is on an expedition through the Northwest Passage to witness one of the most worrying changes ever seen by climate scientists. A 4-meter thick blanket of ice that once enveloped Canada's Arctic water channels now melts away each summer beneath the sun's increasing heat. Many of us can see the evidence in photographs from space, but few of us have the courage or the skill to take a close-up look. Bear is a man well equipped to take on such a challenge.
My job filming, the Man vs. Wild and the Born Survivors, I go to the extremes and I see the reality of what global warming is doing. And it's an ugly face. You get a big reduction of ice up there, that has big effects on the tropics, and you suddenly hear about big floods in Bangalore or whatever. All of this, our planet is very interconnected, and the goal of the trip was to show the reality of what is happening up there.
This sea link between the Atlantic and Pacific has attracted generations of explorers, many of whom were defeated by the ice, like the British expedition of 1845.
I think the Franklin story is such a powerful one, just because the might of the British Navy was thrown at this endeavour to try and find this route through the passage, and it ended in disaster. Franklin died, and slowly, all of his crew over the winters and summers, they starved to death. Eventually Inuit discovered human bones that were gnawed on and that showed cut marks and showed that cannibalism had been a part of their escape, and it rocked the British Empire, really.
By 2007, so much sea ice had melted that the route became navigable for the first time in history. Not as much ice, but just as much danger. The explorers of old had to break up the sheets. The adventurers of today have to dodge floating blocks.
Just seeing if there's a way through. Hold on.
We had no idea what the ice conditions were going to be like.
See that channel to our 1 o'clock, guys?
Right, we're just trying to pick our route through. It's kind of like a maze. Game of checkers, trying to find a route through all of this sea ice. 99% of the year, all it is, it's just something like at the moment, there's a lot less sea ice than we've ever had before, and that is down to global warming.
The ice of the Arctic acts as a giant reflector. As this girdle melts, newly exposed seawater soaks up the sun's heat, creating warmer oceans that melt more ice. This process is taking place so rapidly that scientists fear all sea ice during the summer months could vanish by 2030.
Lots of things kept me up at night before this trip, just because I think partly we were so far away from anybody or anything that if something goes wrong, your chance to rescue are kind of slim.
Yeah, we're just assessing the state of Ben's injury at the moment.
And it's no doubt it's pretty scary being in a small boat in monstrously big waves. Ben took a big whack on the head just in some really big seas we had one day. He just got thrown off his seat and smacked his head on, some bit of metal, and before you know it, you're fighting waves, fighting ice. You're trying to stem blood. Everyone's getting a bit crazy.
Right, so we can stop the bleeding basically. But I think we're just about there. Brave man.
For us to get caught amongst ice in big storms is a perfect kind of nightmare scenario.
And we're bleeding but still standing. How are you feeling, Ben? we're still getting battered though by these seas. But we're hanging on in there.
We're going places that, you know, parts of the Arctic that nobody will have ever been before.
So all of this water is just uncharted. The only route ships have ever gone is the other side of this island, the traditional route down the Northwest Passage. But what's exciting for us in a little boat is that we can explore areas that nobody has ever been able to explore before. But this is what it's all about.
The explorer's dream is to walk where no human has walked before. But there can come a thrill from following in the footsteps of your heroes, sometimes quite literally.
Then we find very distinct Western-looking graves that don't look Inuit at all. We find bones and I'm thinking, are these human or not? And then dink, in the dark, I kick by mistake this human skull. We're beginning to think, hang on, this is a bit weird. But ever since Franklin went missing, there have been expeditions trying to locate and find what happened to his ship, but they've never found any remains. This might be a significant part of the jigsaw to explain the disappearance of Franklin's crew.
Uncharted Arctic waters contain the essence of adventure, but they are also proof of a forever changed world. Disappearing sea ice may open up new trade routes and offer new thrills, but it will also destroy coastlines and reclaim land. Melted water, like Bear Grylls, can't stand still. It has to find somewhere to go.
I think there's something very thrilling about just being on a small boat with a small group of people and having no idea what's about to happen, and realising if you can't push through this ice, you've now got no retreat, and it's make or break, it's do or die. And what a privilege to be able to have those moments in today's world.